All right, so hopefully this week should be part one of two. Actually, either way it's going to be because the only other book that I'm like, there's a few of them that are going to be overdue because they were due way too early, which is fine because my library is still doing no fines on your account, and I know it's going to be like a week. I'm hoping a week from now, um, maybe like add a few days, but next week I'll have everything finished because it seems like I'm doing pretty good. I don't know. It seems like this time around, like I'm going quicker than I normally would be. But I'll get those finished by then. But that's my point. Is that I was going to originally I was thinking like, wait, no, it's gonna be 3 parts. Do you want to return those other books? But no, it shouldn't be. Might do a post review on one of them, like that one outstanding book that's like with what could possibly go, nothing could possibly go wrong. That book, that I still have from last time. I still have not read because it's an OGN and it's a lot of book to read in one sitting. So it's kind of like I'd rather just wait until I have time to read it, which would be probably this weekend. Without further ado, let's get into the books. On to the reviews. First one up is Nate Cosby's Cowboy, A Boy and His Horse. A lot of these books I just get, actually the first two books, I got purely because of the fact of who they were written by. Nate Cosby, I didn't actually think he read anything else but pigs. And because I did Nate Cosby Image Comics. I think that was just, I just assumed that all he had written was pigs. So I was kind of surprised to see that not only did he write more than just that, but the library had this book here. It's pretty surprising. I liked it. I like this one. It's nice and quick story. It took me like a half hour to read this whole entire thing in one sitting. Nice quick little story that doesn't really. It does actually try and be a little bit more than just a cute little kids comic about a little cowboy. It does try and there are some elements in here that they try to be a little bit more mature. Not too much, but like kind of like Pixar levels a little bit there. More DreamWorks, I'd say, than Pixar. But they try to be more than just like, oh, he's isn't as silly. It's a 10-year-old kid acting like an adult. No, they do try to do more than that. They try to bring something new to the table. Now, again, not a lot to say about this comic. I do recommend it though. It's such a quick read that I can't imagine anyone being like bored by it. It is a little bit expensive for a smaller book like this. Yeah, it's a hardcover, but $20 really, that's a bit much. I don't care how good the paper quality is. That's a bit much for a 96-page book. That's not even standard size hardcover. And especially it being not only an indie book, but an indie book even I haven't heard of. Like, that's crazy. It's not like Hellboy or even written by Mike Mignola. It's just a book written by I would say a no name. Fearless, written by Kenny Porter, and this one is a great example of a book that I only picked up because of who the writer was. I want to check out something Kenny Porter had written. This is all they had other than Flash, and I didn't want to reread yet. I didn't want to reread Flash yet again. And actually, I had kind of forgot about this book. And then when Nirmal Condition was doing his interview with Kenny Porter, they had mentioned it. I watched a little bit of it. I didn't watch the whole thing. And they mentioned Fearless. Like, oh yeah, I want to check that book out. And I put it on my list. I kind of forgot about it. And then I remembered it again. I finally checked it out. Had no real expectation going in. And for the most part, this book is pretty good. It has a bit of a slow start. Like, at first, I was like, why am I reading this? I kind of like was ready to give up on it. But it gets pretty damn good as it goes along. And has a nice message at the end of the day. Like, this is probably one of the books that I think every middle schooler should read, because unfortunately, when you make the move from elementary school to middle school, even if your friends are going to the same school as you are, things change. That's a great lesson to teach kids, is that your friends will not stay. Unfortunately, your friends will not stay the same your entire life, with few exceptions. Rogue and Gambit, and this is a great example, or this is a great like theme for this set of reviews. Again, for all 2 parts, maybe 3, is that a reread is almost always mandatory for books like this, and just in general. Because the first time I read the Rogue and Gambit, I didn't like it like almost at all. I think I was ready to give it like 2 stars out of 5 on the library's website. Which, side note, I hate 5-star ratings. 3 seems too low to give a book that I like thought was just okay, like wasn't anything special, but I enjoyed it. Kind of enjoyed it. Like a cowboy. Like, do I give it 3 stars? I give it 4 stars. 4 stars seems too high. 3 stars seems too low. That's why I like out of 10 starred reviews, and I know like starred reviews don't mean anything. Like, people want to know what's wrong with this movie. If a movie gets a 4 out of 10, what is wrong with that movie that makes you give it a 4 out of 10? Obviously they want to review along with it, but I think a good way of like summarizing your thoughts and like concluding your thoughts is to give it an out of 10 score, which if I remember, I will do this for each and every book. I just forget. But I think even then you don't have to do an out of 10 review. It's a nice way to do it. And then, of course, if they have an option to rate it, then you should rate it. But this one, again, was one of those things, but it was just a side note. But this one thoroughly surprised me. I read the first time, didn't like it. This time I liked it a lot more. And I actually like was anticipating each and every issue. So it's been long enough. Surprisingly, I felt like it was... No, sorry. It hadn't been long enough. It's been like a few months. And honestly, I feel like it was a bit longer. There's a lot I forgot about this book. It still is somewhat forgettable. It still is kind of generic, but it's a good kind of generic. Like, you get it at a bargain bin or for free in my case. And it's just something that passes the time and you're not too overly pissed off about it. And honestly, I like these kinds of books that you don't have to read every other X-Men book that was coming out at the same time. There are just a few things I was confused about. I really didn't care at the end of the day because they're small things. There's twice that they referenced something that happened in a Storm comic, and I was like, oh, well, too bad. But they say this happened in Storm. So it still made sense as to why his character was doing the thing that they were doing without giving too much away. But it kind of would have been nice if I had, read those 2 Storm issues. And Valkyrie, another book that I read the first time, and I almost like this was definitely a 2-star. Like Rogue, I was kind of stuck in between 2 and 3, I feel, but this one was definitely 2 stars. And I did not like this one like almost at all. I thought it was kind of boring, and I was dreading reading the second volume. And I think it was one of those things where part of me was like, oh, if only they didn't have volume 2, so I could have an excuse not to finish the series anymore. But now I'm anticipating volume 2. In fact, I kind of want to just do volume 2 of this, and then next one of those. Go back to this set of books, not the next set of books that I have instead. I'll keep it TLDR. So this one is written by Jason Aaron and Al Ewing. Jason Aaron, or Al Ewing, and especially Jason Aaron, I have everything they've done for Image Comics. So to celebrate, I will check out something that Jason Aaron has written and my library has. That's what's the theme for this set of books. Next is just miscellaneous. I don't count Al Ewing as, like, I wouldn't get an Al Ewing book this time around, unless it was co-authored by Jason Aaron, like it is here. But, like last time I got his We Only Find Them When They're Dead. I read that again. I don't count that as, oh, it's an Image book. He's like a 5-page story for the 24 panels. Literally 24 panel story for that anthology. I don't count that as him doing any sort of work for Image. It's kind of an added bonus, Well, technically he has done that. But that's why I'm saying, like, this next time I don't want to go back to the miscellaneous. I want to go back to this set of books, just so I can read volume 2 of this and then volume 2 of Sculpt, which, spoilers, I also really liked. I always really like that, so it's not like a spoiler. I didn't think I was going to feel any different. But Valkyrie is a major surprise. Now I can finally understand why people liked that this later run on Jason Aaron's Thor. Because it seems like the more he progressed, the less good his stuff was. Like, no one seems to like his Avengers run. Very few people do. Next up, we have Secret Avengers, and this is one that I'm just going to say the same thing I've always said. It is really damn good, super underrated, check it out. A lot of these rereads, like, my opinion doesn't change too much, because mostly with the ones I really, really like Secret Avengers, Preacher, Scalped, Y the Last Man, Wicked and Divine, Paper Girls, and many, many others that are just, like, top tier. So I'm never going to change my mind about them. Transmetropolitan is about the only one that I changed my mind about. And it's only slightly. Like, it's a very slight difference. Vader Down and Darth Vader. Yet again, examples of I really, really like these books. Check them out. They're worth checking out. Like 10 out of 10 almost. Like 9 out of 10s. Fantastic reads. Same thing for Scalps. Although one thing I will give is that there's a lot going on in this book, I feel like they need to... The artwork sometimes... I don't know if it was just me, but kind of seemed like the artwork, you had to kind of like, okay, this is this... The dialogue reminded me who was who. And the artwork should have done that with... the artwork should have done that right at the bat. And maybe it was just me. But that was one little nitpick I had to this comic, is that I had to read the dialogue like, this is Red Crow. This is Dashiell Bad Horse. This is Gina. This is this character. Okay. And there's something that happens at the end. I'm like, is that who I think it is that just got killed off? All right, cool. But, I mean, not cool, obviously. All right, good. Like, in the sense that I got it right. But even then, I'm not 100% certain. It seems like in the context, the narrative, it is who I think it is. But even then, if it's... And again, it could just be me. But I feel like that the artwork, I couldn't fully tell. I mean, sometimes it's obvious, but it's just... I don't know what it is. And honestly, it might just be me. We Can Never Go Home. Now, this was one I mentioned in when I was doing my complete November haul, that this book I always thought ended like cliffhanger. It doesn't. It has an ambiguous ending, and this is like begging for a Netflix or a Prime Video or just a streaming service adaptation, and it should definitely get that, because more people need to know about this comic, and the best way for them to do that is for it to be popular on Prime Video. It happened with Invincible. It happened with The Boys. It should happen with this comic as well. Is it as good as those two? No, but it deserves to be in the same, hey, this is an underground the comic you've never heard of. It's getting an adaptation. Read the comic beforehand, yada, yada, yada. Those kinds of people. It's begging for that kind of recognition. Grimm is yet another book that I read that I didn't really like the first time, but this time I'm hooked, and I really wish that my library had volumes 2, 3, and 4 and upwards, because I am hooked, and I almost like... Maybe next time they have a sale on Boom Studios books and this is on sale, I'll get what's out so far, digitally. Because it was really damn good. Honestly, I have no complaints with that book. Abbott, better than I remember it being, but this should have been like 7 or 8 issues. It really does feel like it's a really compressed story that is squeezed into 5 issues. There's so much going on, and it's not a good idea to have this book only be 5 issues long. That is not enough time to tell this really, really expansive story with a lot going on, a lot of lore and mythology. You can't do that all in 5 issues. At least 8. And I would not have complained if it was 8 issues. Honestly, 10. Make it 10. I know there's a sequel and that expands on this, but even then, this is, like, you could argue that this was always supposed to be like a 5-issue miniseries and it was so popular it got a sequel, but that's what I would say. Like, this was always meant to be a 5-issue miniseries. It got so popular that it got a sequel. So saying that is no excuse for this book to be so squeezed into, like, compressed and bloated, however the word is, but compressed is the best way to say it. That's what it is. Doctor Who. I will check out more Doctor Who, but if they didn't have volume 2 of the series, I wouldn't be exactly distraught. Like, the library didn't have volume 2. I don't know why I'm specifying. You guys know what I mean. But if the library did not have volume 2, I would not seek it out elsewhere and feel any need to do that either. Even if it was like $1.99 for the whole entire trade. Because it was good, but not great. It was kind of, honestly, kind of slow at times. And I was kind of annoyed with it and kind of ready to be done with it. It proves that Paul Cornell, he's better with indie books. Like, I Walk with Monsters. And it doesn't count because it was a Marvel book, but Black Widow Deadly Origin was pretty good. But this one was just okay. Bad Girls is a good example of, I guess I was just in a bad, not in a bad mood per se, but like not in the right mood to read this comic. I was trying to do a pun there, and I realized that sounds stupid what I said. But I was not in the right mood to read this when I first read it. I read half of it, was gave up. It's like, okay, I'm going to bed. I'll finish it tomorrow, and then I finished it the next day. Not only did everything go, but not only did it go by really fast because it's a fast-paced book, but I actually really enjoyed this. This is a good example of a book that I like. You know, it just flows well. It has good pacing. It's interesting enough, investing enough, but nothing I would ever seek out myself. And that's a lot. That's how I feel like a lot of Alex de Campi stuff. No Mercy is obviously an exception because it was just that much better than Bad Girls. And yes, I do feel bad giving any positive feedback to Alex de Campi, despite because of what she did, which is murder Ed Piscor by bullying him to death to suicide. Real thing, by the way, unfortunately. But again, separate the art from the artist is just really hard to do. That's really hard to say at this point with how shitty everything has gotten. But there is light at the end of the tunnel with Absolute Batman, the Absolute DC books, and with Ed Piscor winning his much-deserved Eisner, or whatever it was. Some big prestigious award. I believe it was an Eisner. In fact, I know it was an Eisner. Anyways, and then finally, last but not least, Suicide Squad, Blaze, and yes, my opinion has not changed. I can still consider this to be really damn good, and much better than it was the first time I read it. This has been like my third or fourth time reading the series. This 3-issue mini-series. And that, as I say, is that. I'm going to go over all 14 books again and do the out of 10 reviews. This I'd say 7.5 out of 10 for Cowboy. Fearless, I would say 7.5 out of 10. Same score as Cowboy. I honestly felt the same way. 7 out of 10 for Rogue and Gambit. So that's why it's so easy to do out of 10, because I can say 7 out of 10. That means it's above average. 6 is average, and then 5 is below average, 4 is bad, 3 is terrible, 2 is awful, and 1 is apprehensible. And then, of course, 8 is great, 9 is excellent, and 10 is perfect. 7 out of 10 for Valkyrie. But with out of 5, it's like, what? It's 3 good, but not great? But then 2 must be terrible. But there's no, like, in between, it feels like. It feels like with an out of 10 score, it's much easier to understand why you get the score. Like, 6 out of 10 is not bad for a review, but 3 out of 10 is. And 6 out of 10, I feel like it should be 3 out of 10, but it's such a wide margin after 3 and then 4. That's why I do, even doing like a 3.5, it doesn't seem to be doing it justice. It's just very annoying. And that's why I do out of 10, because it's easier to understand how I put up a book. Because of what, there's a broader number, obviously. Bigger numbers. Secret Avengers, 9 out of 10. My dog keeps barking. Vader Down and Star Wars and Darth Vader, all these Marvel books, they're just 9 out of 10. It's like, I know it sounds dumb to say, oh, do you feel the same way about all of them? Like, super fan here. But it's just because it never loses its steam. Written by the same people, never loses its steam. It's written by competent people. Scalped is a 9.5 out of 10. I would definitely put it in my top 5. Honestly, I'd probably... Well, what did I say is a top 5? I say number 1 is Preacher. 2 is Wicked and Divine. 3 is Sin City. 4 is... Probably Scalped. And then 5th is Paper Girls, I guess. I don't know. Lots of train of thought with the dog barking. We Can Never Go Home. 8 out of 10. Grimm, 7 out of 10, or 7.5 out of 10. Abbott, 6 out of 10. Just how squeezed together the story was. Like, they definitely need to expand it to 8 issues. 5 out of 10 for Doctor Who. Bad Girls, 8 out of 10. And, 7 out of 10 for Bad Girls. And Suicide Squad Blaze, same 7 out of 10. Honestly, probably a 6.5 for Bad Girls. Like, Bad Girls is kind of one of those books that just kind of, 6 out of 10 for Bad Girls. Again, I said half it was good, so probably it should be a 5 out of 10 for anything. So 5 out of 10 for Bad Girls. Again, I got a little distracted there, but that, I'd say, is that. 19 minutes long. Not bad. For going to 14 books, I always think of that, like, if I'm going over, like, the books that I bought. If I buy 15 books in 1 month, regardless of how many of those I've read before, because I like to add in at least one for the monthly hauls of when I've read before. Library hadn't, I bought myself because I liked it so much. Yada yada yada. Of course, from Image, but still, liked it so much I bought myself. I do like to make it at least 30 minutes. So going over 15 books, 2 minutes per book, 30-minute video. Now it's hard to do, of course, when it's volume 2 of a series, but I find a way. That's why like maybe I'll talk more about like Plutona and Brittle City, or in last month's case, or in May 2024's case, talk a hell of a lot more about Wicked and Divine than I do. And it's a 9-volume series, so I fill in the gap by talking so much with the series as a whole that, you know, when I'm doing volumes 2 through 9, it's like the same way, obviously, but what I just said still applies, kind of thing. But that, like I said, is that.